Welcome everybody to another Supplier Spotlight. I am joined by Kosha from Memories, and we're going to be talking all about memories, what's new in funeral technology. Before we get into that, Kosha, give us a quick introduction to who you are and what Memories does.
Great to be with you, Ryan. Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Kosha Gada. I'm the CEO of Memories Group Limited. A quick introduction about myself. I am a technology and media executive. So I actually come from outside the industry. My last role, I was a senior executive at the Comcast Corporation. But what I love about that is a big part of our technology suite that I'll talk to you about in a second is about telling stories and creating great content for a family to tell the story of a lost loved one. And so my media and technology lens, I think, plays right into that. At the same time, it's actually been very interesting to learn about the funeral industry, which is something I'm relatively new to. So what Memories Group Limited is we are the only integrated platform right now in the industry that consolidates the customer journey and the customer's digital experience from the moment of passing, a loved one passing, to the 7 to 10 days of preparation and all the digital things that happen in that window leading up to a funeral service, to the day of the funeral service, all the digital experiences like live streaming and a video slideshow tribute and a guest book that take place on the service, and then post service, having all of that content and contributions from friends and family landing into a very elegantly designed digital memorial that's a keepsake for the family to take home. They can add to it, they can share it, and hopefully preserve it for their progeny to remember the lost loved one's life story forevermore.
I love it. So I want to simplify and just ask you, what's the major problem that you solve?
What we solve is integrating the customer journey for a funeral customer in one simplified platform. And the second problem we solve is helping friends and family tell, share, and preserve the life story of their loved one forever.
I love it. I love it. So technology and death care, as you've probably been immersed into the profession now, is a big conversation. There's a lot of things happening with technology and death care changes. The profession's slow to adopt. So where do you see technology going in death care, and why is memories going to be relevant in that transition?
That is definitely the topic du jour. And I come at it, as an outsider that has seen the insides of lots of companies. I was in management consulting for a decade, and my expertise has been digitizing antiquated industries and seeing, how that can be used to elevate the customer experience and actually increase economic value for the industry. So I've done it for the music industry, for publishing and media, for e-commerce. And so from a business perspective, it's almost a textbook opportunity where I call the death care industry the industry technology forgot about. And so it's almost 10, 15 years behind the same thing that happened in all those other industries that I mentioned. And the time is ripe to just execute that digital playbook for this industry. There are other macro trends happening, like private equity is taking over more and more of the industry. And so that's another accelerant for digitization to come. I think the pandemic and the restrictions was another forcing function that forced a lot of funeral homes and that industry to sort of leapfrog ahead and adopt and embrace certain technologies that maybe they hadn't had an impetus to do before. So that's sort of what's happening from a business perspective, and why Memories is best suited to do that. Couple things. So the problem that we solve, we've identified that very clearly from 2 years in the field, in the market in Australia. And we are actually backed by the largest funeral company in Australia. So that's given us access to the market pretty quickly. We touch 1 in 4 funerals here, and we see on the ground the fragmentation in this industry. And so we're the only integrated solution that's rolling up every single digital need, basically, across that journey. And then the other thing, too, is we're backed by and run by a team of very experienced technology and media executives, myself, but also my whole team. And so we're able to move faster and apply some of the learnings from other industries, but adapt it to the very nuanced idiosyncrasies of this industry. And we're very excited about that.
I love it. And so I think that's an important point to iterate is that Memories has been around for a minute. It's just you're now coming into the U.S. market and partnering with funeral homes and death care companies here. Why is Memories like? How are you going to be most relevant? You feel in the space right now in the U.S.
Yes, so I think so I am American, and I've only been living in Australia for 3 years. And one interesting thing I've learned about Australia in my time here is it's sort of at the end of the world. It's not a major market in terms of scale, and so nobody really pays attention to it. It's kind of a rounding error, I used to say, when you come at it from the U.S. perspective. But it's a very, very valuable testing bed for things, and in certain industries, it's actually ahead of the curve. And I won't digress on that, but there are other industries like from skincare and sports betting and things like that where actually Australia's ahead. And it's really interesting where, because the market is so small, companies here are geared to export very quickly and internationalize very quickly, which is not the way it's done in the US, because the domestic market is so big, you don't have to think about that until down the road. And so I would apply that same logic to here, where we've been around for 3 years. In 3 years, we now touch 1 in 4 funerals in Australia. And it's been this amazing testing bed. I mean, it's a solid market in its own right, but it's also been a testing bed to really perfect the problem, our understanding of the problem we're solving, the technology, the product suite, the solution, how we go to market, and then export that. And culturally, it's quite similar to the other major English speaking markets in the world that handle death and death care, similarly. So we're now at the right time and right on the precipice of basically taking all the learnings and the successes that we've achieved in the last 3 years in the Australian market, and just adapting that obviously to the US context, the British context, because we're aggressively looking at both. But I think that's what sets us apart a little bit, that we had 3 years to kind of get it right in this little
Yeah.
market over here, and now a little but very developed and analogous market. And now we're able to take those learnings and hopefully apply them to the US.
Well, it's really cool though how death is kind of a universal language. There's nuances, like you said, that are different, but man, the journey is so similar in each country. So that's cool. All right, I want to get down to just like somebody watching this. How is Memories going to help that person's funeral service business?
Yep. So imagine in your funeral service today, either you're not doing anything digitally, but you want to, and you're looking at how to do it, or you're somebody who you're doing it in little dribs and drabs. You might use a funeral live streaming provider, and you have one system and log in for that. You might be using a video tribute builder, and you've got a different software and log in for that, so on and so forth. Our solution is the only integrated one-stop shop for all of that. So it's one login, and all the content that's created in one application feeds through in the ecosystem to the others. And we're the only solution that offers a white labeling system. So it will look and feel to your end customer as though it's exactly your solution. And so, for example, on the live streaming, where today, if you're using a provider, the people viewing the funeral service will leave your environment and go off to the other vendor's URL and environment, versus in our solution, they'll stay right in your environment. And that is very powerful, that you get to harness and showcase your brand and harness the very profound interaction that not only the family, but the wider orbit of people watching the funeral or attending the funeral, all in your world. And you can reap the rewards of that. You can service the family and the wider orbit better, and you make your life easier because it's just one solution, one login, one system that does it all for you.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for being on, doing this interview, but also Memories is going to be present at NFDA for the first time with a booth, correct?
That's right. We're very excited to be there, and we look at it as sort of our launch into the US, and very excited to meet everybody.
I love it. So if you're at NFDA, it would make a lot of sense for you to go by the Memories booth, meet the team, learn what they're doing, see some of the things that they're doing firsthand. So, Kosha, thank you so much for being here and doing this interview today.
Thank you, Ryan. It was my pleasure.